I am 𝓥𝓲𝓫𝓱𝓪 and welcome to Classes Fundamental. In this video, I will explain Class 11th Political Science Chapter 8, which is Local Governments. Now, all of you already know about two types of government, which is the central government and the state government. In this chapter, we will look at the third level of government, which is local governments. In a democracy, it is not sufficient to have only two levels of government. We need to have local governments for democratic purposes. In this chapter, we will look into the local governments, why they are needed in our country, the importance, the functions of local governments, and how they have been amended over the course of time. Of course, we will also look at the 73rd and the 74th Constitutional Amendment Acts. So all of this we will be looking in this chapter, and without any further ado, let's get started with the first topic, which is why local governments. Now, one of the basic questions that comes up in our mind is that why at first place we need local governments? What is the purpose of local governments in our country? Why are we saying that in democracy it is very much important and needed? Now, for understanding this thing, you need to look at two examples that are given in your book. First is of 𝓥𝓲𝓫𝓱𝓪. Now, she is a Sarpanch elected from a reserved seat in 𝓥𝓲𝓫𝓱𝓪𝓷 in Madhya Pradesh. She has been elected from a reserved seat, which means that there is reservation for women in Gram Panchayats. And after 5 years, when she completed her term, she was again re-elected, and this time she was elected from a non-reserved seat because people admired her for her work. She had so much political foresightedness and harnessed the power of Sarpanch and did many good things for the village. She repaired the water tanks, constructed buildings and roads, and did campaigns and political awareness about environmental change, climate change, and atrocities against women. So she did so much work and had a committed participation towards the Gram Panchayat or her village. Second story is also of yet another woman achiever. Now, she was from South India. She was Sarpanch of 𝓥𝓲𝓫𝓱𝓪 Gram Panchayat in Tamil Nadu. Now, what happened in 1997? The government of India allotted 2 hectares land to 71 government employees. Now, this land fell with the vicinity of this Gram Panchayat of 𝓥𝓲𝓫𝓱𝓪. What happened? On the instructions of higher authorities, the district collector asked the Gram Panchayat to pass a resolution about the endorsement of these land for the purpose which had already been decided by the higher authorities. Now, what happened to Sarpanch, this woman achiever? She did not agree to it and went to Madras High Court that it was her power as Sarpanch of the Gram Panchayat to ask for that land and to endorse that land. Now, there was a single judge bench and which said that which upholded the collector's endorsement of the land, the collector's announcement of the land. After that, there was again a petition against that single judge bench, and now there was a division bench that sat up into the High Court. In the High Court, they upheld the Gram Panchayat and said that there was a constitutional status of the Gram Panchayat that could not be challenged like this. So the collector's point of view was wrong, and the land belonged to the Gram Panchayat. Now, from these two examples, you can see that the importance of Gram Panchayats. Gram Panchayats or the local governments, because Gram Panchayat is a part of local government. Local governments are the government which are for the day-to-day life of the people, in which there is committed participation and accountability. As you know, democracy is all about committed participation of the people and accountability towards people, which we can see in these two examples. Local governments are those governments which are the ground root level and are connected directly with the people. People can also approach easily to the local governments because they are feeling more connected towards it. As you already know that people are not that much aware of the national government, of the central government and state government, but they are having more connection towards the local government because they are together with them, and the the dissolution, all the decisions of the local government has a direct impact on these local people. So why for the day-to-day administration of the local people, the local government is very much needed in a democracy, and that's why we were saying that local governments are very much important in a democracy. Because what happens in a democracy? Democracy is all about the people's opinions. If there is anything that has an impact on you, then your opinion matters, and people can definitely tell their opinions in the local governments. Now the next thing here comes is that growth of local government in India. How has local government changed over the course of time in India? Now you know what, it is believed that in India, even from ancient time, there were many kind of assemblies formed in villages which were known as sabhas for administration purpose. Afterwards, they got converted into panchayat. Panchayat in Hindi literally means an assembly of 5 members, and the head of that panchayat would be called as sarpanch. Now, if we talk in modern India for official purpose, in modern times, the local government got started only after 1882. Lord Ripon, who was the Viceroy of India at that time, initiated the local government bodies in India, and at that time they were called as local boards. But there was many problems, there were many concerns related to the local governments during that time because of the slow progress, because of the less efficiency of these local governments, as they were not provided with resources and powers. And that is why, Mahatma Gandhi, even in the freedom struggle, said that asked for the decentralization in economic and political power. And everyone believed that political parties, everyone believed that the local governments were very important instrument for the decentralization in India, as concentration of power in the central government or in the Governor General at that time was very much dangerous to the local people. So while local government is needed to prevent a centralization or the concentration of power, and that is why for decentralization purpose, local government has always been a hot agenda in our country. Now, after independence, it is believed that the local governments were not given adequate attention in the constitution. Well, there are many reasons behind that as well. First of the reasons could be that at that time India was just parted down. Due to partition, there were many kind of turmoils going on in the country, and if we gave freedom, so much autonomy to the local bodies, then what would happen to the unity and integrity of India? So Nehru, first Prime Minister of India, Nehru himself was against this thing, because he believed that for maintaining the unity and integrity of India at that time, giving power to local bodies was a concerning thing. Second thing is that there were many group of people who were led by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, and said that if they gave the power to the local government bodies, then surely they will not be in their noble purpose. What would happen in local government bodies? Many faction, many high class people, high caste people will take over, will dominate into these local government bodies, and that is why many people were against giving the power to the local government bodies. Yet everyone believed in the popular participation of the people in the local governments. It was just that at that time the situation of India was not allowing it, because India had just been independent, and there were many dominant classes. There was practice of untouchability as well. There was so much caste discrimination, and chaos was going in the country. So we possibly could not give that much power to the local bodies, and they were not given adequate attention in the constitution. But in the freedom struggle and in all the course of years, the local government bodies have always been important in Indian polity. Afterwards, they had been amended and more powers were given to the local government bodies, which we will look further into this chapter. Next topic that comes here is local government in independent India. So local governments in independent India, as I just said that before independent India, in pre-independent India, the local bodies were not that much effective because they did not have resources, they did not have power, and no specific provisions were made for them until the Government of India Act 1919 and the Government of India Act 1935 after the pressurization of Indian National Congress. Now, after independence, we had the directive principles of state policy about the local government bodies. But as you already know that the directive principles of state policy are non-justiciable in nature and they are non-enforceable. That is, they are primarily advisory to the state government of India and are non-justiciable in nature, and that's why local government bodies had not been initiated. After which the 73rd and 74th Amendment Acts did make many provisions, but even before doing so, there were some provisions made for the local bodies. Now, first thing happened in 1952 when the Community Development Program was initiated. After introduction, it sought to promote popular participation of people into the elected local bodies. After which many states such as Maharashtra and Gujarat till 1960 had elected local government bodies, but still there were many states which had not made any kind of local bodies because the state did not have financial assistance, and even if the local government bodies were elected, then they did not have financial assistance. They had to be dependent either on the central government or the state government. After which, what happened that there were many problems going on. Many states thought there was no need for the local government bodies into their states. Now, it was only after 1987 that a thorough review of the local bodies was made, and in 1989 a committee, which was P.K. Thangan committee, was set up for reviewing the status of elected local bodies in our country, and that committee recommended an elected local body in the country about their reservation, about many things, that proper reservation should be there, proper organization of the local government bodies should be there, their powers, their resources. They made many kind of many kind of recommendations related to the local bodies, and after which the Government of India started to work on it, and they did so by introducing two important amendments, which were 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Acts. As you already know, local government is a state subject, that is, only the state government is allowed to make laws on them, but by these amendments in the Constitution, the state the state had to abide by it and had to make provisions according to these amendments. What happened by the 73rd and 74th? 73rd Amendment was for the rural local bodies, or what we call Panchayati Raj institutions, or PRI in short. And the 74th Constitutional Amendment Act was for the urban local government bodies, or what we call Nagarpalikas. Now, they had their own kind of thing, their own kind of recommendation, their own kind of statements, but all the states had to make provisions according to these two amendments in the rural local bodies as well as the urban local bodies. So by these two amendment acts, there was complete transformation of all the local government bodies in our country, and they got more powerful, they got more assistance. So let's have a look at these two amendments as well. First is 73rd Amendment. Now, these two amendments were introduced in 1993, and within the period of 10 years, that is around 1994 to 2004, the states had to make provisions according to all the these two amendments. Within a year, they had to make the laws, all those kind of things, and within 10 years, they had to implement them. So within 10 years, the implementation of these two amendments could be seen as well. Now, in 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act, there were many provisions related to different subjects of the local government bodies. First one of them is third three-tier structure. Now, 3-tier structure in Panchayati Raj institutions means that there was a basic level, there was an intermediary level, and of course the apex level. At the basic level, we had the Gram Panchayat. Now, Gram Panchayat could be of a village or a group of villages. Now, at intermediary level, we had the block or what we call Taluka Panchayats. They are also called a Samiti or Mandal in many regions of India. They are intermediary to some upper level when there are group of Gram Panchayats, but if the population is not sufficient, then there is no need to have intermediary level of local bodies. At the apex level, we have the Zilla Panchayat, which comprises of all the government bodies of a district. So at district level, we have the Zilla Panchayat. At intermediate level, we have the block Panchayats, and at the basic level, we have the Gram Panchayat. There is also Gram Sabha, which comprises of all adult members in the village who have been listed as voters. So if they have their voters ID, then they can be a member of the Gram Sabha. Now, the purpose of making Gram Sabha is the supervision of Gram Panchayat, so that people themselves can check on the Gram Panchayat, and the annual budget of the village is made by the Gram Sabha. So Gram Sabha consists of all the adult members of a village who have been listed as voters. Gram Panchayat is at the village level, or it could be 2 or 3 villages, which comprises of a Panchayat and a Sarpanch. Then after we have the block Samiti, block Panchayats, and then we have the Zilla Panchayat. Next is elections. Now, you know what, that before there were many kind of problems with elections. There were irregular elections, or the people's participation was low, or there were many corruption practices, many malpractices related to elections. But in this 73rd amendment, it was clearly stated that there should be election to local government bodies or to Panchayati Raj institutions every 5 years. So every 5 years there is an election held for the purpose of electing members in the Panchayati Raj institutions. Of course, if there are elections, then there are reservations as well. You know what, there have been reservations made for SCs, scheduled castes and scheduled tribes, and for women as well, which is a very good thing. Now, 1/3 of all the seats in Panchayati Raj institutions have been reserved for women, and according to the ratio of population of SCs and STs, there is a reservation for SCs and STs in the Panchayati Raj institutions. So if in a district there are 20% of STs, then of course in Zilla Panchayat there will be 20% of the seat reserved for the STs. And you know what, that the reservation for women is not only in the general seat. Of all the members elected from this SC and ST communities, 1/3 of them have to be women. So you could say that it is a very good thing that reservation for women has been highlighted into this amendment, and we can say that there will be more empowerment of women, as there are also reservation for the posts of Sarpanch or Adhyakshas, or what we call the president of a Gram Panchayat or of a Zilla Panchayat. So reservation are not for just the members of a committee or a Panchayati Raj institution. It could be for the president of that Panchayati Raj institution as well. So many women have acted as a leader, as earlier they were confined to houses, they were confined to their homes and families, but now they are acting as a leader. So we can say that reservation for women for SC and ST has been beneficial for them, and the state is allowed, if they wish to do so, they can also give reservation to other backward classes or OBCs. According to the population of OBCs in an area, there can be reservation for ABCs in the Panchayati Raj institution. It depends on the state government, but for SC and STs and for women, it is compulsory for the state to do so. Next subject here is transfer of subjects. Now this has been mentioned in Article 243G, where there has been transfer of subjects. Many subjects from the state list have been transferred to local governments. 29 subjects from state list have now been enlisted, have now been transferred to the local governments, and these local government, of course Panchayati Raj institutions, have these subjects because they are of day-to-day importance, or they are the local matters, such as the road construction, the minor irrigation, agriculture purposes. So all those things that concern the local people have been given to the local governments in the transfer of subjects. And you need to remember the article, which is Article 243G, where it has been mentioned that 29 subjects will be transferred into the 11th schedule of the Constitution, and all the matters in the 11th schedule of the Constitution are meant to be dealt by the local government or the Panchayati Raj institutions, not the local government but the Panchayati Raj institution, which is of the rural level. So now this provision was earlier not included or not given in the Adivasi regions, like where the population was more of Adivasi communities, because they had their own way, they had their own customs, traditions of managing collective resources such as wells, such as lakes, such as forests, and that is why we needed to be very much careful about our provisions into the areas where the Adivasi population was high. Now in 1996, what happened? These provisions of transfer of subjects was given in the Adivasi regions, but more powers were given to the Gram Sabha. So the consent of Gram Sabha had to be important. It is very much important in the Adivasi region, so that all those things will be maintained by their traditional customs and practices, as they have their own culture of managing forest and water bodies. So that is why there have been some exaggerated or extended acts and provisions in the regions which have been populated by the Adivasi communities. Now next subject or next part of the 73rd Amendment is state election commissioners. Now every state is required to appoint a state election commissioner. You know, earlier the election to the local bodies, to the Panchayati Raj institution, was done by the state administration, which was under the control of state government, and that is why independent body, that is State Election Commission, has been now appointed, and the state election commissioner's work will be to hold election in a state. This office is not linked or is under the Independent Election Commission of India. It is an independent body, which is the State Election Commissioner, but is not linked under the Election Commission of India, which is meant for the national and state elections in the country. So for local elections, for the election of Panchayati Raj institution, we have the State Election Commissioners. Next thing here is State Finance Commission. Now every state is required to appoint a state finance commission as well, so that all the local bodies would be independent of the state government for financial assistance. Now the work of these commission is to give reports about the status, about the position of local bodies in their resources, in their sources of income, in the revenue, so that they would be given more financial assistance by the state government. So State Finance Commission has been appointed for the purpose of reviewing the sources of income of all those local bodies in a state. Now all these provisions were introduced in the 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act for the purpose of Panchayati Raj elections, for the purpose of Panchayati Raj institutions. We have seen about the reservation provided to SC, STs, OBCs and women, of course. Then we have seen about the election provisions. You know, in Panchayati Raj institution, the regular interval for election is of 5 years, but if due to some issues the elections have not been held properly, or it could be some any other kind of issue, and the body is dissolved, then election for that body have to be held within the 6 months of dissolution. So after completing 5 years, or it could be in between the 5 years, the election has to be held within the 6 months of dissolution of any body in the Panchayati Raj institution, in the 3-tier structure of the Panchayati Raj institution. So these provisions have been made by the 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act of 1993. Now let's have a look at the 74th Amendment Act as well. Now 74th Amendment Act is very much like the 73rd Amendment Act, except the fact that it is for the urban areas. First of all, what is an urban area? Of course, a city like Mumbai or Kolkata is easy to recognize as an urban area. But what about those small places which fall between a village and a town? So we have set a criteria. This amendment has certain criteria about recognizing, you could say, grouping the urban areas in our country. Now, for becoming an urban area, a city or region should have at least 5,000 of population. Then 75% of the male population should be engaged in non-agricultural activities. At least a density of population of 400% per square kilometer. Only by having these three criteria can an area or a region be described as an urban area. So to become an urban area, a region must possess all these three criteria. According to the census of 2011, 31% of Indian region is urban area, and the remaining is of course rural area, or it could be border area. So 31% of the total area is urban area in country according to the census of 2011. Now all the provisions related to election, transfer of subjects, about reservations, about election, interval of elections, about state election commissioner, all those subjects are same in the 74th Constitutional Amendment Act as well, except the fact that they are meant for the Nagarpalikas or for the urban local bodies. So we can say that for the urban local government bodies, the 74th Constitutional Amendment Act has been implemented. Now let's have a look at the implementation of 73rd and 74th Amendments. So let's have a look at the implementation of the 73rd and 74th Amendment Acts as well. Like, what have they done in practical situation? Are they just paper, or are they really having some practical solution to the problems? Now, after the 10 years of implementation, that is between the period of 1994 to 2004, most states of India had 2 rounds of election in the local government bodies. Many states had even 3 rounds too, such as Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra. So many states had even 3 rounds. We can see that there is some practical resolution of these amendments. According to the data given in the book, we can see that there are many people elected in these local government bodies, that is 2,40,000 in the Gram Panchayats. Then we have 600 in the Zilla Panchayats, 6,000 in the intermediary or the block panchayats. Similarly, in urban areas, in city corporation, we have 100 city corporations, around 1,400 town municipalities and 2,000 Nagar Panchayats. We have seen that out of the 32 lakh people that are elected in local government bodies, 13 lakh are women, which is a good sign towards the democratization and the empowerment of women in the country. Afterwards, we have also seen that women have been elected as the chairperson or the adhyakshas of the panchayats as well. So in both, in the urban areas as well as in the rural areas, in both local government bodies, many women chairpersons have been elected as well. As can be seen that 50 mayors in city corporations, 500 mayors in 500 chairpersons of town municipalities, and around 650 in the Nagar Panchayats, and we around have the same number in you could say rural areas as well, because the population of rural areas is getting more and more, and that's why more people are elected in the rural areas. So we can see that over the years many good things have happened. The reservation for SC and STs gives a representation to the socially backward classes, to the marginalized sections of the society as well. We have also seen that when these were being implemented at their early stages, the dominant classes, the dominant groups of the villages were hesitant to give their powers, to leave their powers for other people, and that intensified the situation. But that has been seen as a good sign as well, because if For democracy, the power has to be given, has to be distributed from those who have concentrated it to those who can distribute, who can work for the local people. Then of course there would be some intensification. They are meant to be there, but they have been dealt with successfully. Yet there are some drawbacks of the local bodies, such as we have seen that there have been many empowerment of the women, and there are many things, but still there are some drawbacks. Some of them is that the funds, the financial fund, the resources fund are very low for the local government bodies. 0.24% of the state budget is given to the local government bodies. 0.24% of all the revenue collected by the state government is given to the local bodies, while their expenditure accounts for 4% of the state budget, which shows that they are earning less than they are spending for the people. That's the first problem. Second problem is that even if the people are elected on a large scale, yet they have been given no powers. There are still many states which have not transferred many of the subjects. So we can see that related to the powers and sources of income, there have been conflicts between the state government and the local government bodies, and the local government bodies are getting politicized as well. With the different political parties, they are getting affiliated, which is affecting their efficiency. So even if there are good signs about the elections, about the reservation or of the empowerment, yet there are some things that need to be concerned about. Now, last but not the least thing is, of course, our conclusion on this chapter. What have we concluded in whole this chapter? We have seen that ultimately in democracy there is a genuine share, there should be genuine share of power with the local people, with the local government bodies, so that they can work for the people, for the ground root level and the ground root problems of the people at day-to-day administration. We have also seen that even though on paper we have so many kind of provisions made by the 73rd and 74th Amendment Acts, but yet in practice there need to be some more efforts by the people in democracy, because local governments are the voices of the people, as they can represent themselves by these local governments. A good example could be of Bolivia in this South America. Now it has been seen as one of the best local government country in the Latin America because of its policies towards the local governments, in which it gives 20% of the revenue to its local governments. So that should be adopted. Some similar kind of policy can be adopted in India as well, and can be done much more for the local government bodies, so that there would be more improvement in the democratization of the country. Now that is all we have seen in this chapter. I have covered on the topics and subtopics, and this chapter is very, very much important if you are perceiving for political science in the higher studies as well. So this is all about the chapter. I have covered all the topics and subtopics, and the next chapters will be covered in the further upcoming videos. So stay tuned for the upcoming videos. Thank you very much.